Harvard MRI scans produced one of the most striking findings in modern neuroscience. Just 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation produced measurable changes in gray matter density across 4 distinct brain regions. No pharmaceutical intervention, no surgery, just sitting still, paying deliberate attention to your breath, and repeatedly returning when your mind wanders. The brain changed structurally in response to a daily mental practice. That finding has now been replicated multiple times. Your brain is not a fixed organ. It is constantly remodeling its physical structure based on what you repeatedly think, feel, and do, a property called neuroplasticity. Meditation is the most precisely studied deliberate intervention for reshaping that architecture in beneficial directions. It doesn't require equipment, money, or special conditions. It requires only consistent practice and the understanding that every time you redirect your attention, you are performing a measurable structural change on your own brain. Today's evidence comes from Harvard Medical School and Massachusetts General Hospital neuroimaging studies conducted by Hölzel, Sarah Lazar, and their collaborators. Their MRI research established the first rigorous structural evidence for meditation-induced brain change. Additional support comes from John Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness-based stress reduction protocol, which provided the standardized intervention, and from Taryn and colleagues' Amygdala research confirming stress reactivity changes. Britta Hölzel and Sarah Lazar at Harvard recruited 16 participants with no meditation experience and ran them through an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program. MRI scans before and after captured something remarkable: measurable structural changes in 4 brain regions. What's especially significant is that 16 people, 8 weeks, and 10 to 45 minutes per day was sufficient to produce changes visible on a brain scan, effects robust enough to survive peer review and multiple replications. Each brain region that changed in the Harvard study serves a specific cognitive function, and the direction of those changes maps precisely onto the reported real-world benefits of meditation. The hippocampus grew denser, improving emotional regulation and memory. The posterior cingulate cortex thickened, reducing mind-wandering and rumination. The temporoparietal junction increased in density, enhancing empathy and perspective-taking. And the amygdala, the brain's threat detector, showed a decrease in gray matter, corresponding to measurably lower stress reactivity. Sarah Lazar's 2005 study took a different approach. Instead of training beginners, she compared experienced meditators averaging 9 years of practice to match non-meditating controls. The finding was striking. Long-term meditators showed significantly greater cortical thickness in the prefrontal cortex and right anterior insula, regions critical for attention, introception, and decision-making. More significantly, these regions normally thin with age. Meditation appeared to counteract the age-related cortical thinning seen in the control group. The brain changes from meditation don't stay in the scanner. They translate into measurable psychological improvements across several key domains. Participants in 8-week MBSR programs consistently show a 76% reduction in perceived stress, roughly 70% improvement in emotional regulation, 68% reduction in anxiety symptoms, and meaningful improvements in both working memory capacity and sustained focus. These are large effect sizes for any behavioral intervention, achieved without medication or side effects. The biggest myth about meditation, the one that stops most people from seriously trying, is that the goal is to clear your mind of all thoughts. This is completely wrong. Meditation is the practice of noticing when your attention has wandered and gently returning it. The wandering is not failure. Noticing and returning is the actual exercise, neurologically identical to a bicep curl for your prefrontal cortex. Each return strengthens the attention circuitry. The 8-week brain change protocol is based directly on the MBSR structure used in the Harvard studies, adapted for realistic daily life. Weeks 1 and 2, 10 minutes of breath focus daily, counting cycles from 1 to 10, returning without judgment when you lose count. Weeks 3 through 5, 15 minutes of open monitoring, observe thoughts arising without following them. Weeks 6 through 8, 20 minutes integrating mindful awareness into daily activities like eating, walking, and conversation. The neuroplasticity loop driving structural brain change through meditation operates through one simple repeating mechanism. You direct focused attention to an anchor, typically the breath. Your mind inevitably wanders. You notice the wandering. You return attention to the anchor. That sequence, focus, wander, notice, return, is a single training repetition. Each rep strengthens the prefrontal circuits governing attention and inhibitory control. Over 8 weeks and hundreds of repetitions daily, the structural changes become visible on an MRI. Your 8-week brain change checklist, 10 minutes per day, Same time, same location, every single day. Consistency matters more than duration. Sit comfortably in a chair, eyes closed. Phone in another room, not on silent but out of reach. Week 1. Count breaths from 1 to 10 and repeat. When distracted, return without self-criticism. After each session, write one word describing your mental state. This single word tracks progress more honestly than any subjective feeling of how well the session went. Use these implementation intentions to anchor meditation to your existing daily routines so the decision to sit never depends on motivation. After you make your morning coffee, sit for 10 minutes before drinking it. The coffee becomes your post-meditation reward. If you feel overwhelmed at any point, do a 3-minute breathing reset. 4 seconds inhaling, 6 exhaling, 5 complete cycles. If you miss a day, do 5 minutes the next morning. Consistency over perfection, always. 8 weeks. 10 minutes a day. Gray matter changes visible on a Harvard MRI scan. The science on meditation is clearer than almost any behavioral intervention studied. The amygdala shrinks and stress reactivity drops. The hippocampus grows and emotional regulation improves. The prefrontal cortex thickens and attention capacity increases. And in long-term meditators, that thickening appears to offset normal age-related decline. The only variable is whether you actually practice. Subscribe. Every week we translate peer-reviewed neuroscience into practical habits you can implement immediately. Start your 10 minutes tomorrow morning, before you look at your phone, before the day begins. The brain changes don't require a retreat, a guru, or a perfect quiet room. They require only consistency and the willingness to return your attention, one breath at a time.